So on top of trucks and everything else getting supercharged and big and huge, Jeep has finally released the Jeep Grand Wagoneer.
Which will be their first three-row SUV in quite some time. So we dive deeper into it in this episode.
So like we mentioned, this is going to be a three-row SUV, but let's go ahead and get past that. This is going to be an extremely expensive vehicle in its segment. I would immediately start to compare it, especially with what's been released, the features and everything available. Probably just like a brand new Lincoln Navigator, something along those lines, or even a Land Rover Discovery. So something along those lines.
Yeah, essentially, some people you might compare it to like a higher trim Tahoe or like a higher trim Expedition, but like with some of these features, I think the Lincoln and the Range Rover comparison is a lot closer, which to say that about a Jeep is just ridiculous. It's supposed to be a 7-seater, 2 up front, 2 in the second row, and then a full 3-row third seat in the back, but we still have screens on the back of the first 2 seats, so that way the second row has these 10-inch displays. They even have a touchscreen infotainment for their climate control, and then all the bells and whistles up front for the passenger and the driver. Like, this is just an outrageous Jeep.
Like, I think that you could almost, with where we're at right now in the car market with these giant SUVs, I think you could just, if you're a super wealthy businessman looking for somebody to drive you around, I would opt to get one of these instead of a limo or a Mercedes, where I'm like, man, I can sit in a nice big vehicle and I got these super nice screens in front of me, like whatever. Like, this seemed to be something that, I hate to say it, but Jeeps with this kind of vehicle is trying to enter the luxury market, which I think is a little bit dangerous for them.
Yeah, because when you hear the name Jeep, you don't think of luxury. You think of the Wranglers and like old Cherokees going off-road. Yeah, rough and tough, not what I predict to be an $80,000 plus luxury vehicle.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be insane. But I mean, like Josh said, it looks super comfortable. And one thing I do like about it, speaking of comfortability, you have all the leather and everything in there like you would expect, but they have some wood paneling in there to kind of throw it back to some older Grand Wagoneers. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, on top of these features, I mean, you have, like Jacob said, all the screens. You have full functionality with temperature control throughout the cabin, whether you're in the front, the back, the rear, either side. I think you also have heated seats and cooled seats all over the place. I mean, this is I don't think you could ask for more features. It also has a almost like an infinity roof, I think is what they're referring to it as.
Yeah, giant sunroof.
Yeah, because you normally it's referred to as a panoramic sunroof, but this thing is absolutely massive. Like, it's a one of a kind, and outside of that, it's almost an abomination to the car market where you're just like, I'm just gonna just load this thing up. It's gonna be just outrageous. But I mean, if you're somebody out there that looks at buying this, I think it's somewhat similar to like someone buying a brand new Land Cruiser, like a Toyota Land Cruiser, where you're like, I got $90,000 burning in my pocket. I want something pretty cool, but I don't want it to be a Mercedes or a BMW. So what do I get? You know?
Yeah, the back of it definitely does look like a Discovery to me. I like the front of this Grand Wagoneer. The back, I'm not so much of a fan of. I really don't care for the back of the Discovery either. And since they look so similar, I think that's kind of what's affecting me here. Yeah. But like Josh said, they've thrown every single feature and accommodation and really accessory they could think of into this vehicle. And from these photos, this vehicle is supposed to debut in the Detroit Auto Show. So, of course, they're going to bring the biggest, baddest, most bells, most whistles
most
vehicle.
Exciting.
Yeah. So I'd really be interested to see what a base version would look like and what the price range would be, because if most of them are like this, you're talking $70,000, $80,000 vehicle. What kind of market is Jeep going after that? They're trying to capture some, you've already mentioned it, Mercedes buyers, some Range Rover buyers, some Lincoln buyers, but that's not really what you think of when you hear the name Jeep. So it'll be very interesting to see how this vehicle does.
Yeah, I mean, this is a shift in the car market where there has been a lot more three-row SUVs selling. I mean, you look at the Volkswagen Atlas, you look at the Kia Telluride, you look at the Hyundai Palisade. These things have soared in the market,
Yeah.
as well as the new Ford Expedition Maxes, and the Ford Expedition is the way they sit. And I mean, you could just name a bunch, but I think the big problem here is, I mean, just as a whole, in my opinion, with Jeep, is they continue to get more expensive, and we can sit here and complain, but people are still buying them.
Yeah.
So don't be the one that's sitting there looking at it, complaining about what it costs, while our consumers are still buying them. So
Yeah.
that's a major issue, a flaw in my opinion, is that we continue to just buy into the agenda
Yeah.
and feed the beast and keep paying more money for something. But I mean, if it sells, it sells. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, we've absolutely dogged the price of the Gladiator plenty of times, but I still see plenty of them driving on the road.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm not surprised Jeep has now created a three-row SUV, but we will have to wait and see what these actually look like at the auto shows coming up, as well as what the prices will be. But other than that, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down at the bottom, as well as the bell, so you're alerted whenever we have new content coming out.
yeah, so without further ado, let's Gulf Coast Gearheads signing off.